Ready, set, go, Debbie.
Okay, sorry, I somehow got muted. Okay, so I'm Debbie Lucas, and I will admit that when I talked to Linda about what talks we're going to do, I look back at old ones I did, and I think, okay, well, this will be easy because I just have to update this one a little bit. And I thought for sure when I put this on the list that I had done it before, but I could not find an old one. So I borrowed an old one that I used to do when I worked at Sutter. And what's interesting is that one was created in 2014, and it was called Nutrition on a Budget. I threw in the plant-based because I had to veganize it a little bit. But you'll see some things that I had to update that they had, like it said it's better to eat at home, which I still the same thing, but said, you could go to Starbucks and get a coffee and a pastry for like $4. And I thought, oh, you can't go there for under $10 for that now. So it's amazing how the prices have changed in the last 10 years. It's amazing how they've changed in the last, few months even. But I just want to talk about how to eat healthy, but still keep on your budget. Because I think that's what a lot of people say is that, oh no, that's way too expensive to eat like that, to eat, plant-based or vegan or whatever. And so let's see, can I roll this? Let's see, there we go. So they actually finally did a little study. This was last year on the food costs of a low-fat vegan diet versus just a regular Mediterranean diet, which would include some meat and cheese and dairy and stuff. This was done by the Physicians Committee for Responsible Medicine, and it was published in the Journal of the American Medical Association. So when we've talked about studies before, what kind of lends them some more credibility is where they were published. Another thing that lends them credibility is how many people were in the study. So that's what this N number is. It was only 62 people, which isn't huge. So we have to take this a bit with a grain of salt, but some people followed the vegan diet for 16 weeks versus the Mediterranean diet. And they found that the vegan diet was actually 19% less expensive than the Mediterranean. And the Mediterranean really might be much less expensive than the typical American diet. I don't know. But the savings was definitely from not buying meat and not buying as many added fat things. And I think a lot of times when we think, oh my gosh, it's too expensive to eat plant-based or to even eat healthy. I think we say the same thing. It's because the vegetables are so expensive and grains are so expensive and meat alternatives if we go that route. So the savings, what they found in this study, still outweighed the extra cost of those things. But when we start looking through some of the slides and I was comparing costs of things, vegetables are generally one of the cheapest things we can get compared to buying meat or packaged foods. But this study, it's not a perfect study because it was self-reported data, meaning that everybody just said what they thought they ate and what they thought they bought, which we all think much better of ourselves when we're doing self-reported data. So we have to take it a bit with a grain of salt. And they only use out of their food logs to kind of help calculate all this. They use 2 weekdays and 1 weekend day to calculate the cost, which isn't necessarily reflective of the entire time. And people volunteered to do this. So when you've got volunteers, they might not really represent just the whole general population. I kind of suspect at the Committee for Responsible Medicine that their people are kind of like our people. So I think we might be a little more reflection, but they might have been younger, they might not have had health problems, I don't know. But I still like this idea because so many people say, oh, it's so much more expensive to eat healthy. That's the first thing they say, besides where do you get your protein? And, this was at least a start to show that it's not. So I like that. So this is the best advice to save money and eat right is to just eat at home. And so this was where I had old numbers from these old slides I had. So if we had some cup of coffee and some cereal at home, that's $1.50. Not bad. It's even cheaper if you get, say, have oatmeal instead of box cereal. versus going to Starbucks and getting your coffee and pastry. That's now like $8 to $10 or more. So eating at home, better for breakfast. At lunch, if we packed it up and took it or ate it at home, maybe $4 to $6. Whereas lunch purchased at a restaurant, I can't even think of a restaurant that I would get a lunch for $10. They're almost always close to $20. And I guess the fast food ones might be close to 10. And then if we ate dinner at home, it says $6 to $10. We know we could do that even cheaper. This is being very generous. But if we went out, say for Chinese food, 20 to $40. It all depends, I know, on what you buy, how much you get, but it's still always cheaper. And really, for the most part, always healthier to eat at home because then we know what we're putting in our food. So I don't know how I loved the gals, their slides talked about the grocery store is play or talking to strangers. I love going to the grocery store. To me, that would be play. And the fancier the grocery store, it's like Disneyland to me to walk into a Nugget or a Whole Foods. I just love that. I don't always buy things because they're too expensive. But I think it all has to do with our planning and our shopping if we want to save a little money. So I love to prepare a menu for the week. I know from my experience with you all, when I say, what are you having for dinner? Not many hands go up. So I'm thinking you all aren't really into that, and that's fine. But that is a way to save money, is to have an idea of what you want to serve this week. And think about what your go-to meals on. And meals are, to me, a go-to meal is one that I can just throw together really fast. Last night for Cinco de Mayo, I could just throw together some tacos with my can of refried beans, a can of corn, and sauteed up a pepper and onions. So that would be a go-to meal for me, that I always have the things on hand so that I could throw that together. So that way, and I think that saves us because when you're driving home or it's a little late and you think, oh, let's just get takeout or let's just go to a restaurant. You say, no, I have this at home. It's in the cupboard. I know I'm going to love it. Or even better yet, I know that I made this soup and it's been in the freezer and we're going to have that for dinner. So I think making a shopping list is a great idea, but you have to stick to it. Okay, I think Linda's flashed on you guys. Who makes a shopping list when you go shopping? Raise your hand. We got some people. Okay. I feel like I need the list. But the thing is to stick to it. Don't get suckered into all those things that they want you to buy. They spend a lot of money on marketing to get things at your eye level or at the end caps, the end of the aisles, to get you to want to buy it. So don't give in. Stick to your list. And now I'm a grocery store ad reader. Do you all use the grocery store ads? Anybody? Few of you? Okay, I don't know what it is in Sac County, but in Placer County, every Monday we get, one of those free flyer things, and it's got the Safeway ad in it, it's got the Raley's ad, it's got sometimes KP Market ad, sometimes it's got Save Mart, doesn't have them all the week. But I will look at those to help me know what I want to put on my menu that week if things are on sale. So it depends on, what store you use. Like I never see one of those for Winco. I love Winco, but it's not super close. So I go about once a month for all my staple purchases. So, but Raley's is the store that's closest to me. And so I will go there and use their app, which must be on another slide. We'll talk about the app in a minute. Don't go when you're hungry. Do not go when you're hungry because all those things that they're using for marketing to get you to buy stuff really look better when you're hungry. So make sure you're not hungry. Shop the bulk bins if your store has them. They might not always be the best deal. I know as I said, I'm a Winco shopper, so they have great bulk bins where things are just a fraction of the price that I get at other stores. But sometimes like Sprouts has some great bulk bins. I don't know that they're always as great of a deal. I think they're a good deal compared to if you bought the package at Sprouts. But Sprouts is a store to me. I love Sprouts and they have great produce, but they have loss leaders, those kind of things that or be on sale this week, like, corn for 10 cents an ear. And that gets you in the store. And then you'll buy all the other things that aren't 10 cents each. So just beware of that. But I use the bulk bins because things are cheaper. I love the Winco bulk bins because I know they're turning over fast. And they use good stuff in the bulk bins. Like the flour is Bob's Red Mill flour. Let's see. Avoid impulse purchases. That's again sticking to your list. Unless, the time when I would do an impulse is I thought, oh, I didn't know this was on sale. And so I would buy that if something I normally use. Keep that pantry stocked with your go-to meal items. Like if we were going to go home now and look in your pantry, and so that pantry is where you keep your dry stuff, and then you got your stuff in your fridge, you got your stuff in your freezer. Would we see enough things to put a quick meal together for you that would entice you, that would make you want to go home and eat instead of stop somewhere? And so we want to have those things in our house. And also, I think this doesn't really go with planning and shopping, but starting a garden is a good way to save money. Excuse me. I'm always so appreciative of how expensive food is when I grow a garden, because
at the point though, Debbie, you have to do more than start it.
well, that's true. Okay, you are so right. In fact, I agree with you. So now's the time to transition your garden for a lot of people. It is for me. So I went to the store, I got my plants, but they're still just sitting out there. I haven't actually planted them in my garden.
Yeah.
So, and then you have to keep an eye on it and water it and weed it. So again, that makes me so appreciative of the food I buy at the store. It's not cheap or easy to grow food. Okay, let's see. So what else do I have? Oh, this one. So here's some shopping strategies. Like I mentioned already, watch for your sales and use your store app. If you haven't gotten into that, it was really annoying at first when my Rayleighs started using this app. And like you have to have clipped your coupon on the app before you get there or while you're there. And my Rayleighs doesn't have great internet. So sometimes I'll have to walk outside. So I found it super annoying at first and complained even. But no one cared and they still used the app. I know Safeway does this too. I don't know about the other stores. Those are my two that I know do it for sure. But on the app, you usually have to go on in advance or while you're standing in the store and clip on things. Because if you don't, they're going to charge you the full price. So if you haven't gotten into that, you might just practice it. It gets easier. Once you get in the mode of, okay, I'm going to go to Rayleigh's or Safeway. Let's see what's on sale. And I clip all my coupons. It's really pretty easy. And you can save a substantial amount of money at those, what I think Safeway and Rayleigh's are a little more expensive, especially when I shop at Winco most of the time. So coupons, I still clip coupons too. I'm a coupon clipper. I'm one of those embarrassing people that pulls out all their coupons if you have them. And you can use them at all the stores, even though it's not a Rayleigh's coupon, I can still use it at Rayleigh's. But don't let that coupon encourage you to buy things you weren't going to use in the first place, because that doesn't save you money. And get generic when you can, especially if it's even less expensive than the name brand coupon you have. So let's say you got a coupon for S&W beans. I tend to buy store brand beans, but if I get to the store and I see that the coupon I have is going to make those S&W beans cheaper than the store brand, I'll buy the S&W. But if it's not, I'm still going to choose generic. And a lot of times I think generic is the exact same thing. It comes off the line and they just slap the generic label on it versus the Rayleigh's label. Or buying the store brand to me would be like buying generic. So it's up to you. You'll learn which foods, I bought some cereals that were the store brand and really they're not as good as the, Post one was. But you'll figure out which ones work for you. And then make sure you're clear on that sale item because it can be very confusing. Some stores might say advertise 5 for $5, but you have to buy all 5 in order to get it for $1 a piece. Rayleigh's is actually, I feel really good about that. There, if it says 5 for $5, it's $1 each. Safeway, I haven't found it to be as good about that. You've got to get 5 if you want the dollar price. So just be clear about it. And my mom was just telling me yesterday, she went to Safeway and they had a sign about some sale item. And so she bought it thinking it was going to be $1.99, but then it wasn't. And when she reread the sign, it was, if you get this, you'll get a coupon for, or get more points or something will go towards her shopping in the future. So it wasn't quite what she had expected. So you pretty much have to have a master's degree to go shopping anymore. And remember, you need to have your glasses so you can read all those small prints. Stock up on your non-perishable items at a less expensive store. So I definitely do that with my Winco store, or, you know, whatever your less expensive store is, you know, anything that is going to be the exact same item for $1 or $2 less at Winco than Rayleigh's, I'll save it. I'll save up. And avoid those impulse purchases at the checkout line. You know, they've got your number. They know that you're hungry, you're irritated, you just would love to grab hold of that thing. So don't give in. Don't give in. Stick to your list. And then for me, shopping, I think the unit pricing is what helps me make my decision. Some people will say to me, well, what brand do you buy that? I don't know, whatever's on sale that week, or whatever had the lowest price per unit. And so that helps me make a decision among different things. I don't know. Does anybody else use the unit pricing besides me? Raise your hand if you do. I'm not seeing hands go. I see a few. Okay, there you go. All right. Because sometimes, you know, I don't know. I'm not definitely loyal to, I don't know, Cheerios. But if I see the store brand and the unit price is less than that, I'm going to go with the store brand. I find Cheerios are pretty same taste across the board. So these are listed on the shelf. I usually like to choose the lowest price per unit. If it's something I'll eat, if it's something you're like, oh, I really don't love that, don't get it. Get the more expensive one. In fact, I would like to say this, some things are a little more expensive that we want to buy. And it's totally okay if you know, love it, and then it's worth it to you. So you don't have to get the thing that is the cheapest, because sometimes the cheapest aren't the best. So get what you like the best and that works best for your budget. And when things are on sale, buy some extra. Stock up your pantry for those items, especially when things don't go on sale very often. I'll say, oh, I'm going to get a few of these. And this is just save money by not buying junk food. You know, I'm amazed by how much Americans spend on beverages. You know, you go to Costco and there's like 3 rows of drinks. I don't understand it since I'm a water drinker and I'm not a soda drinker. So you soda drinkers, if you love it, more power to you. But look how much you'd save if you didn't buy chips, if you didn't buy cookies, if you didn't buy those chewy bars, if you didn't buy a bag of Skinny Pop, if you popped your popcorn on your own. Cheez-It, some of this stuff was just kind of, I don't know, excuse me, crap food. But, you know, we still love it. But you could save, what, I don't know, $40 by not buying this kind of stuff. Or finding the cheaper way of doing it, like tortilla chips. You can make your own tortilla chips with corn tortillas, that you can get a whole big stack of corn tortillas for $1 or $2. But I would really encourage everybody to just drink water. It's better for us. Okay, so if you fix it yourself, you're going to save money. So on the other hand, if that convenience food is worth it to you, go for it. But if we're just really talking about eating on a budget, think about this. You buy a 2-pound bag of just brown rice for $1.99. I just looked these things up, most of them, and I went with Target as just a medium price store. $1.99, 20 servings, that's about 10 cents a serving for rice. That's pretty killer, really. But then if you got Rice-A-Roni, there's only 3.5 servings. It's $1.69. So that's like almost 50 cents a serving. Not to mention all the sodium you're going to get from that Rice-A-Roni. Or maybe you like those little brown rice cups where you just add water. I love those actually, and it's not a bad idea to keep a few on hand when you don't feel like cooking rice, but they're about $1 a serving. So it's, think about what's worth to you, or do you just have some of those things on hand just in case if you love those? Oats are another thing. So I looked for the price of just old-fashioned rolled oats, the regular one with the, guy on the front, $5.49 at Target, 30 servings, 18 cents a serving. I've bought it for much less in the bins at Winco or even at Raley's when the store brand is on sale. I've gotten it down to 10 cents a serving for oatmeal versus getting the oatmeal packets where it's about 30 cents a serving, or versus cold cereal, which is about 44 cents a serving. So it's all fine if it was worth it to you for that convenience. But look how much that convenience is really going to cost you. So I feel like oats, and some people want to get, those packets because they're so much faster, but you can microwave your oats for 2 minutes and it's done. So it doesn't save you a whole lot of time, but it would save you a whole lot of money. And then what about carrots? So we love those baby raw carrots here at my house. My husband really loves those. But if I just bought a pound of regular raw carrots and cut it up, it would be closer to $1. Where those baby raw carrots, depending on if they're on sale and what store you get them at, $1.50 to $2.50 for those baby raw carrots. Those are still just carrots. They just put them in a little thing where they go around and it makes them smaller and it takes off the skin. But again, for convenience, you might love that. I'll tell you what we have in our house because my husband loves the baby ones. I get those for him. I get the whole pound of raw carrots for me. So depending on what's best for your household and your budget. So what about grains? Have you noticed how expensive bread is? It's shocking how expensive healthy bread is. I never look at the price of lousy bread, so I don't know if it's still cheap or not. But try to buy regular bread instead of some of the fancier ones, like some people love focaccia bread or getting the ciabatta rolls. Buy the store brand when you can and the store brand cereals. Some of the stores now have their own bakery. Winco has its own bakery. Their bread is pretty decent. And if you're not going to use your bread right away, throw it in the freezer so that it doesn't go bad. That's the thing I think on all of these is protect your investment by throwing it in the freezer or using it in a different way so it doesn't go bad, because that's where we really spend money. And we talked about waste a few months ago. We waste like 40% of the food in our country. So that's just money that we're throwing down the drain. I've already gave you my spiel on the oats, to avoid the instant packets. And then just buy regular old popcorn and pop it yourself instead of buying it already popped in a bag. We have a little microwave popper. It's a little silicone thing, and my husband puts a, quarter, half cup of popcorn in there, sticks it in the microwave and hits popcorn, and it pops all up. Couldn't be cheaper, especially if I get my popcorn in the bins at Winco. That's where I really save. What about fruits and vegetables? Should we spend the money on organic? I don't know. What do you think? Yes or no? Raise your hand if it's a yes. Spend money on organic. Okay, we got a few hands. Organic's expensive and we can't all afford it. I will let you know I do not always pay for organic. But organic's pesticide free. It's got better growing practices, so it's better for the soil. So there's a lot of good things about organic. It's not really been proven to be nutritionally superior in that, your organic red pepper isn't going to have more vitamin C than your non-organic, let's say. But what they have found about organic produce is that because it doesn't have the pesticides to help it defend itself, it creates more antioxidants and things in it that will help protect it. So they might be higher in antioxidants, which is a good thing. There's this organization, Environmental Work Group, EWG, and they publish a dirty dozen and a clean 15 list. So that means they've looked at the produce, and it changes every year a little bit. And the Dirty Dozen are things that you should really definitely, if you've got the money, buy it organic. The Clean 15 are things that it might not be worth the money to spend organic. And I will tell you why on my next slide. Here's the Clean 15. 2024 was the most recent I could get from them. So these are our produce that naturally repel insects already. They have a physical barrier to both pests and to pesticide residue. So like avocado, it's got that shell, and we're not going to eat that shell. The growing conditions provide some kind of a barrier, like the season, like maybe this is a winter produce, and so there aren't that many bugs around. Or it grows really high, so it avoids the, bugs, things can't get to it, let's say. You can save 20 to 50% when you buy these things with regular growing practices as opposed to organic. Now, I don't want to diss organic because I think organic is great, but I can't always afford it. And so look at these things that are considered the Clean 15 on their list that we wouldn't necessarily have to buy organic. Not that I don't love supporting organic farmers, I really do. But we got to do what's best for us at home. And then their Dirty Dozen, this was in 2024, I didn't have 2025, are things that they have found more pesticides on. Or they have really thin skins. So, or, you're not going to get and scrub your little strawberry. So the greens, I think, are good because, you're not going to scrub them all. You can't scrub it off. They don't have a protective barrier. Another thing, I'm just going to go back for a second. A lot of people tell me they only buy organic of things that grow in the ground. And which I think is not a bad way to think about it, except look, sweet potatoes on the Clean 15. Potatoes aren't, but they're not on the Dirty Dozen either. So you
That's-
make your best decision that's good for you. And you
Debbie,
decide.
what does it mean for foods that aren't there?
Yeah, I think there you, I
Like
don't know.
Bananas
It's a
aren't on the list.
crapshoot.
Pardon?
I think it's a crapshoot. You don't know. They might have some pesticides. You scrub them. I think we still need to wash everything. I think these are ones that are just the worst. The ones that they have found most pesticides leak through. So, you have to do what you can afford. It's now a lot of farmers markets are 100% organic. They're usually an organic farmers market. So I've got to remember that when I go to a farmer's market and I think, this is too expensive. I could get this cheaper at Winco. And it's because they're organic and it costs a lot of money for them to get certified organic and to grow organic. And so we just have to remember that's why it is a little bit more expensive. And according to the environmental work group, they think these are the ones that are worth spending the extra money on organic. So again, you do what you think you need to do. But I still need to scrub. I wouldn't use any of that soap or anything. I don't think we need to do that. But on your items that you have, do scrub them. Even things, let's see, where was cantaloupe? Cantaloupe on our list? Yeah. You want to, even though it's a Clean 15 and your watermelon too, I would scrub it because when you cut your knife through it and you're not going to cook it probably, whatever was on there is going to drag through your fruit. So I still scrub things. Okay, what about fresh fruit? Of course, getting things seasonal is usually the least expensive. When you get things out of season, not only have they come from Chile or somewhere, but they're a lot more expensive and they often don't taste as good. So if you get seasonal, you get the best price, you get good quality, it's usually local. So, and that's another thing the stores I think have been great about is showing where your food's coming from. And to me, this means a lot to me. If I see that this came from Chile, I will put it right back. Whereas I know it just came from Fresno, I'll get it. Buying at farm stands is good, although they're not necessarily organic. And I meant before I did this talk to talk to my little farm stand that I go to for strawberries to see. I don't think they're certified organic, but I'm hoping they grow organic themselves, and I did not ask, but I will let you know next time. If to save money, if you buy smaller fruit, then it weighs less, so you don't spend as much, and it helps with portion control. But sometimes, especially at the big grocery stores, it is hard to find a small apple, and those are hard to eat an entire big apple. So buying smaller is good. Getting the pre-cut fruit is much more expensive than getting the non-cut. But again, you need to save time because you're bringing this fruit to a potluck and you don't want to cut all that fruit. I think fruit salad is the hardest thing to bring to a potluck because you got to cut all that stuff up. Get pre-cut if you can afford it. That's fine. But you will save money if you cut it yourself. And what about canned fruit? Anybody here like canned fruit? I grew up on canned fruit. That's all we had. But always get, the one that's light or packed in its own juice, not in heavy syrup, which is, by the way, what I did grow up on. Get the store brand when you can. And be aware of the individual sizes. Sometimes they sell the little individual sizes, but they're a lot more money. So check your unit price to see if it's worth it. And again, we're protecting our investment. So use your fresh fruit first. If there's any parts that are bad, cut them out and put them in your salads, put them in your snack cups, put them in your cobblers. So it doesn't have to be pretty there. Freeze it if you're not going to eat it right away or you think it might go bad. I do that especially this time of year when we've got all the strawberries at the stands, or for the, 2 weeks that cherries are in season. I will freeze them so I can have them throughout the year. And a great way to freeze is to put it on your fruit on a cookie sheet, stick that cookie sheet in the freezer. And now they're not all stuck together and glomped together. Then you move them to a bag after they're frozen. If things are a little too ripe, like you don't want to eat it, throw it into your smoothies, your muffins, your cobblers, those kind of things. It's perfect for that. Bananas, I know we probably all do that. Your banana gets a little too soft, you throw it in the freezer. You're gonna make banana bread, you're gonna make banana muffins, you're gonna do your nice cream with it. And other fruits you can do your nice cream with too. Don't wash your fruit when you get home because it has more chance of molding. So wait until you're gonna eat it before you wash it. That will save it a little bit too. Okay, what about vegetables? Again, fresh and in season is the best. Like when you get tomatoes, who doesn't love a good tomato in tomato season in the summer? It's the best. And you can really tell the difference in flavors. They're also less expensive. If you do want some vegetables that are not in season, though, we have a lot of options with canned and frozen. So, and I know a lot of people, they have a garden, they grow lots of tomatoes, so they can their tomatoes in the winter. Or I know John taught us how to do roasted tomatoes. And we got all these tomatoes, you roast them all, and then you have them in the freezer for making your soups and stews throughout the year. If you're going to buy canned, you do want to get the low sodium. And if you want to get your fresh produce in season, the farmer's market is the place to show you what's growing right now. But sometimes, like I said, for a cheapskate like me, they can be a little pricey. So if you go to your farmer's market near closing time, they might knock down the price a little because they don't want to take their produce home. So sometimes you can get some deals around closing time. Frozen vegetables are actually, people think, is that as good as fresh? And sometimes, in some ways, it might be even better. They freeze it right out there, flash frozen out in the field within hours of getting it picked. You want to get plain frozen vegetables, not with all the sauces and things on it. Frozen vegetables, typically, they do not add salt, so we don't have to worry about that. And they haven't had a chance to lose all their nutrients. When you think about fresh, they picked it in the field, and then it got on a truck, and then it went to wherever their plant is, where they then pack it all up, send it out now to Raley's or Winco or Safeway or Save Mart or wherever. It sits in the back of that store for a while, and then it finally comes out. And then you finally come by and buy it, and now it's going to go home and sit around at your house for a while. So there's lots of opportunities to lose the nutrients. It's the ones that are, when you expose them to heat or air or light, we lose. So sometimes frozen is really good. And you know, I grew up on frozen vegetables too. I think they're fine and they're super convenient and they're there when you want them. And there are certain things I tend to like fresh more, but I always have a few bags of something in the freezer for those go-to meals. Canned veggies, you know, if you get the store brand, it's usually cheaper than the name brands. Sometimes there's a difference in the quality of those vegetables though. So you'll decide which ones work for you. Like I'm fine with canned corn that's store brand, but I don't particularly love canned green beans. Well, I hardly ever get canned green beans, but I don't generally love them. So it depends on what you like. Check your unit pricing to see what the best deal is and always choose the low sodium. And then when you go to use it, run it under a colander for about a minute and you'll lose about 40% of the salt that was in there. And then again, if you fix it yourself, you save money. So convenience costs, which may be totally worth it to you. And that's fine too. But if I got some pre-packaged romaine, the kind in the cute little box that they've already kind of washed and they've trimmed it up, that was $3.19. Again, I got this price, I think, off of Target. But if we bought just a bunch of romaine, it was $2. And I'm not sure that I meant to go weigh a bunch of romaine and see how much it was. But I know when I've done this, I've gotten a lot more romaine when I get home and clean it. But now I got to get home and clean it. And this is one thing, the lettuces that I get are the one thing that I do wash in advance because I just won't use it. That box is convenient when you're in a hurry. So I will wash it, cut it up, put it in a bowl in the fridge or wrap it in a towel so that now I'll eat it fast. Again, the pre-packaged carrots, I think I've banged the drum on that enough. Potatoes are another thing. Like you get the 5-pound bag and you get 12 or 15 potatoes in there. And so, you know, 12 servings for $3.29, although they're on sale for $1.97 at Raley's this week. Thank you very much. But you could also buy convenience, say hash brown potatoes, and that's $5 for 10 servings. So when you have somebody else do the work, you pay for it. Although sometimes it's worth it. Who doesn't love those already Ore-Ida shredded potatoes? Those make for a quick meal and you didn't have to shred them yourself. But just think about it, where you can or want to save money or where the convenience is better. Okay, so we did grains, we did fruits, we did vegetables. Now we're to dairy. Since I'm all about the whole food plant-based, I'm going with dairy alternatives. But I'm not going to lie, they're pricier than dairy. They are. I can't, there's no hiding it. So a cup of milk, and this is at current prices, we're at about 24 cents a serving. If I do my soy milk, and I think I got these prices from Target also. You'll find better prices when they're on sale here and there. But a cup of soy milk, about 62 cents. Cup of almond milk, about 55 cents. Cup of oat milk, about 56 cents. So they're more expensive. However, you don't have soy milk, that's going to help lower your cholesterol. So we love that. And it's got protein in it, similar to what's in a cup of skim milk. Whereas my almond milk doesn't really have protein in it, but it does get my cereal wet for not very many calories. So 55 cents, that might be worth it. Oat milk, actually oat and soy, you can make your own for pennies. And John, don't you make your own oat milk?
No,
No, you don't? Soy milk?
I've made soy milk,
Okay.
but I buy it because I like the convenience.
Yeah, exactly. I know. So you decide what you can do, or sometimes I'd like to try to make my own, but I don't think I would drink it fast enough. So I like the convenience, so I buy it too. And these prices could be cheaper depending on the week at the store that's on sale. What about protein? So no doubt meat is one of our most expensive proteins. And so we do save money by switching away from animal proteins on a plant-based diet. So all these would be one serving or a 1 ounce, equivalent to a 1 ounce piece of meat, which is 8 grams of protein. So just use that as your kind of reference. So 1 ounce of nuts or seeds, an ounce of, I went with salmon in my next example, an egg, 2 tablespoons of peanut butter, a quarter cup of beans, all about 8 grams of protein. So if I went with salmon again, I had just come back from Costco. So my husband loves their salmon, and we had just bought a whole bag of frozen salmon. It was going to come out to 83 cents per ounce. And I didn't look at the store. I did the math myself when I got home, but at the store, it would have your unit pricing. So it would let you know. Whereas my nuts, oh, I switched that to 1 ounce, I think. Yeah, this says half ounce, but it should be 1, sorry. I just had bought my nuts at Walmart. I mean, at Costco too. I feel like they're the cheapest ones. I like the bins at Winco, but I found that the Costco ones are about the same price and always seem a little fresher to me. 27 cents for an ounce. A medium egg. Oh my gosh. It all depends on where you go. It's funny, I told you I borrowed some of these slides. So they had egg on the old slide, and it was like 20 cents an egg on the old slide. So look what happened in 10 years. And I don't know what a dozen eggs cost. I looked up on Target, it said $8. So I know somebody's,
Well, eggs are really expensive right now compared
yeah, they are. Somebody told me they paid $12.
to some bird diseases go
Yes,
around.
bird flu. So right now it's 67 cents
maybe.
an egg. So yay, yay, plant-based. 2 tablespoons of peanut butter. I went with the natural peanut butter, 16 ounces. It was $5.99 for a jar of that. Is Adams peanut butter, I think, at Target. So that's 43 cents per serving. But beans, you can't beat them. Beans, you buy a dry bag, 15 cents for a quarter cup. What I should have done now that I see for comparison is showed the difference in a can. But let's see, I can buy a can for like 67 cents, a can of beans at Winco. And that's going to be probably 3 servings. So that's about 20 cents for canned beans. And I could have put tofu on here, a block of tofu. I get that generally for about $2 a box. And it says 5 servings, but I usually make it into 3 servings. So, that's 60 cents a serving. Well, I'm not sure how I did my math there, but it's still plant-based is cheaper. Yay, plant-based. Choose meatless items to save money. This is funny because this was in the slides that I borrowed, they had nothing to do with plant-based. And so they were talking all about you should go meatless to save money. And I thought that is my point exactly. But it also improves your health. So get your canned and dried beans, get your nuts and seeds, get your whole grains, which are a good source of protein too, which we forget, vegetables. You can't beat the price of soy curls, tofu, and tempeh. I mean, that's really going to save you a bunch of money too. And if you still are eating meat, you want to stretch your meat price by throwing things in. I don't know, when I was a kid and mom made meatloaf, you stretched it by adding vegetables or bread or something to it, right? So we want to add that. Use beans or meat in your tacos, beans or a meat mixture, or combine that in your tacos and burritos. So throw some beans to thin out the meat. Use less meat when you are doing stir fries or pasta and things like that, if you're not fully there to plant-based yet. But I think we know how to stretch. And then be careful about your extra things that just waste money. Alcohol, if we cut back on alcohol, that's not only good for our budget, it's good for our health. I think we all know that. Cigarettes, I don't even know if any of us smoke or do chew, but it's a huge cost, not just in your grocery bill, or wherever you get that stuff. I don't even know now. But also in your health. And then what about supplements and vitamins? Do I really need to buy those? Or am I getting enough? And should I get the store brand or the name brand? We got to do a little research when you're buying your vitamins. Sometimes do we need it? I don't know. If you are deficient in something, you need that. So you can look online and look at reviews and look at how the USP mark that shows that there was good packaging, good manufacturing practices. That's what I wanted to say. So most of these things we don't need to waste our money on. We'll save money. So how do you want to try to save? Do you want to have more meatless meals, or if you already have meatless meals, yay you. Do you want to try a different store? You know, we do tend to go to the store that's right closest to our house or right on our way home. So, but maybe it would be worth it if you had a cheaper store nearby that you could go, say, once a month, like I do at Winco. Do you want to start using your store's coupon app? I know it's a big headache at first, but once you get into the habit, it's not bad. Maybe start making a little more instead of using convenience foods. I don't know. Do you want to cook more at home? That's your biggest step to savings right there. Do you want to grow your own? I don't know. But to help you stay with whatever you decide, let's say you decide I'm going to cook more at home. So every time you start thinking about, no, I'm going to go through the drive-through, remember your why. Why are you doing this? This might be for your budget. It might be for your health. It might be for your family. It might be for the environment. Think about what your why is, and all our decisions should line up with our why. But I hope you can save a little money, or maybe picked up a little trick that you don't remember. But that's it. That's all I got. What do you think?
So I don't know. If you notice, Paul in the chat put a site for the apps, right, Paul?
Oh, did you, Paul? I can always count on you, Paul. Thank you.
For the markets and even the non-market stuff too. It has all the ads.
So so where do you guys shop? Thank you for sharing that, Paul. Where do you all shop? Shout it out.
Rayleigh's, Kevin says,
Really?
the co-op, farmer's market.
Okay.
John goes to KP.
Get some good deals at KP.
And Winco, Ryko's a Winco fan.
Yes.
I shop at the Safeway mostly.
Yeah.
Sprouts is a fun store. Sprouts-
I
Sprouts
do
is
love
like-
Sprouts.
Yeah.
But I do feel like their lost leaders are the best. But then some of their other prices aren't. So, and the trouble is, now that I don't work, I'm retired, I can go to 3 different stores over the course of my week. But when you're working or you have a busy life, you don't have time to do that. So you just go to whatever's closest and easiest. I understand that.
Well, and
I know
actually,
I have more time.
the store that's kind of fun and is closest to my house is a grocery outlet.
Oh,
And
I
I
love
refer to it as the weird store. Because it's always a surprise what you're gonna find in there. And you can't count on getting anything just because you got it there before. But you have some good deals and some interesting, super interesting products.
Yeah, I totally
Yeah.
agree. And they have a lot of plant-based things or vegan cheese and stuff. And if you find it, get it, because they won't have it the next time you're there.
No.
Thank you. That's I forget about Grocery Outlet.
Yeah. They also have fun garden toys.
Oh, they do? Oh.
Yeah.
Well, they also have cheap wine, if you're into that. But I know we're not wasting our money on alcohol.
Right.
Not that cheap alcohol.
Yeah. Well, thanks, Debbie.
Thank you. I'm sorry I couldn't make it there. John, you and I are doing spring summer dishes next time.
Yeah, look at Shane and Simple.
Shane?
Shane and Simple.
Okay, I will.
SHANE.
We
Yeah.
have some rattlesnakes too.
Kevin is asking for
Oh,
rattlesnakes.
Kevin. I bet it tastes just like chicken.
All right, Debbie, thanks.
Okay, thanks you guys. Bye.